Fellow gardeners, let's cut through the marketing hype and internet folklore surrounding one of the most debated soil amendments of our time, biochar. You've probably seen the claims miracle soil enhancer, ancient Amazonian secret, the key to explosive plant growth. But what's the real story when it comes to your raised garden beds? Today we're diving deep into the science, the practical applications, and most importantly, what you can actually expect when you invest in this controversial amendment. The promise I'm making to you is straightforward. By the end of this guide, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of whether biochar deserves a place in your raised beds, how to use it effectively if you choose to proceed, and realistic expectations for the results you might see. No more confusion, no more conflicting advice, just solid, actionable knowledge based on real science and practical experience. The biochar buzz, separating fact from fiction. Before we explore its garden applications, let's establish exactly what biochar is and isn't. Biochar is essentially charcoal created through a specific process called pyrolysis, where organic materials like wood, agricultural waste, or other biomass are heated in an oxygen-limited environment. This process creates a highly porous, carbon-rich material that's fundamentally different from the charcoal briquettes you use for barbecuing. The excitement around biochar stems from discoveries in the Amazon rainforest where researchers found incredibly fertile black soils called terra preta that indigenous peoples created centuries ago by incorporating charcoal and organic matter. These soils remain remarkably productive today, hundreds of years later, which has sparked intense interest in replicating this success in modern gardens. However, and this is crucial, biochar isn't a magic solution that transforms poor soil overnight. It's more accurately described as a long-term soil conditioner that works by providing infrastructure for soil biology and improving the retention of nutrients and water. Think of it as building a luxury hotel for beneficial microorganisms rather than directly feeding your plants. This distinction is vital because it sets realistic expectations for how and when you'll see results. Decoding the science. How biochar actually works in your soil. The magic of biochar lies in its incredibly porous structure. Under a microscope, quality biochar looks like a complex network of tunnels and chambers. Imagine a microscopic apartment complex with millions of tiny rooms. This structure provides protected habitat for beneficial bacteria and fungi, allowing them to establish stable communities that can survive drought, temperature fluctuations, and other stresses that typically disrupt soil biology. This microbial hotel concept translates into real benefits for your plants. As beneficial organisms colonize the biochar, they create more efficient nutrient cycling, improved disease suppression, and better root-soil interactions. The fungi that grow in biochar's pores form extensive networks that can transport nutrients and water across greater distances, effectively expanding your plant's access to resources throughout the raised bed. The nutrient retention properties of biochar are equally impressive. Its porous structure acts like a sponge for dissolved minerals, preventing them from leaching away with irrigation or rainfall. This is particularly valuable in raised beds, which often drain more quickly than in-ground gardens. Instead of losing expensive organic fertilizers to drainage, biochar holds these nutrients in reserve, releasing them slowly as plants need them. This creates a more stable, consistent feeding program that can significantly reduce your fertilizer requirements over time. Water retention is another game changer, especially for raised bed gardeners dealing with the constant challenge of maintaining consistent moisture. Biochar can hold up to 6 times its weight in water, creating moisture reserves that your plants can tap during dry periods. This doesn't just reduce watering frequency, it creates more stable growing conditions that support better root development and overall plant health. Practical application. Getting biochar right in your raised beds really does start with sourcing quality material. Not all biochar is created equal, and the source material and production methods dramatically affect performance. Look for biochar made from hardwoods or agricultural waste, produced at temperatures between 400 and 700 degrees Celsius. And, try to avoid products that seem too cheap. Quality biochar requires specific production processes that are usually reflected in the price. So, The most critical step that, honestly, a lot of gardeners skip is the charging process. Fresh biochar is basically empty. It's got the structure to hold nutrients and support microbes, but, it really needs to be loaded with both before it becomes beneficial. If you use uncharged biochar, it can actually compete with your plants for nutrients at first, kind of like the nitrogen immobilization we see with fresh wood chips. To charge your biochar effectively, you'll want to mix it with quality compost at a ratio of about 1 part biochar to 2 parts compost. Then, just add this mixture to a container with enough water to make a slurry and let it sit for at least 2 weeks, giving it a stir every so often. This process lets the compost's nutrients and microorganisms colonize the biochar, creating a biologically active amendment that's, ready to benefit your plants right away. When you're adding charged biochar to your raised beds, less is definitely more. A 5 to 10% addition by volume is usually enough for most situations. For a 4 by 8 foot raised bed that's 12 inches deep, that works out to about 2 to 4 cubic feet of charged biochar. Make sure to mix it thoroughly into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil so it's evenly distributed throughout the root zone. For established beds, you can work biochar into the soil during your annual bed preparation, combining it with compost and other amendments. And for new beds, just incorporate it into your initial soil mix, along with compost, quality topsoil, and other organic matter. The key here is creating a balanced growing medium where biochar supports but doesn't dominate the soil ecosystem. Real-world results. Setting realistic expectations is important. Understanding the timeline for biochar benefits is crucial for managing expectations and evaluating success. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that provide immediate but short-term results, biochar's benefits develop gradually and compound over time. In the first season, you might notice improved water retention and slightly better plant resilience during stress periods, but dramatic growth improvements are unlikely. The second and third years are where biochar typically begins to shine. As microbial communities become more established and the nutrient retention effects accumulate, you'll likely observe more vigorous plant growth, improved soil structure, and enhanced disease resistance. Root systems often become more extensive and robust, leading to better nutrient uptake and overall plant health. So, long-term users frequently report what they describe as soil that gets better every year. This improvement really reflects biochar's ability to create increasingly stable soil biology and nutrient cycling systems. After about 3 to 5 years, many gardeners find they can reduce both fertilizer inputs and watering frequency, while maintaining or even improving their yields. However, biochar isn't without potential issues. Poor quality biochar can contain harmful compounds or have pH levels that negatively affect plant growth. Additionally, overuse can create soil that's just too alkaline for acid-loving plants, and uncharged biochar can temporarily reduce plant growth. These problems are entirely avoidable with proper sourcing and application techniques, but, they really highlight the importance of understanding what you're adding to your soil. Beyond the garden, the environmental implications of biochar extend far beyond your raised beds, which honestly adds another dimension to the decision-making process. When organic matter decomposes naturally, it releases stored carbon back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Biochar, on the other hand, essentially locks this carbon into a stable form that can persist in soil for hundreds or even thousands of years, making it a legitimate tool for carbon sequestration. This environmental benefit means that every pound of biochar you add to your garden represents carbon that's been removed from the atmospheric carbon cycle. While individual gardens make a small impact, the collective effect of widespread biochar adoption could be significant. For environmentally conscious gardeners, this carbon sequestration benefit can justify the investment even if the immediate garden benefits are modest. From a cost-benefit perspective, biochar requires a different evaluation framework than most garden amendments. While the upfront cost is higher than compost or other organic matter, biochar doesn't break down and disappear like these materials do. Think of it as a one-time infrastructure investment that continues providing benefits for decades. When viewed over a 10 to 20-year timeline, the the cost per year becomes much more reasonable, especially considering the potential reductions in fertilizer and water usage. The key to success with biochar is, honestly, approaching it as a long-term soil building strategy rather than, a quick fix for immediate garden problems. It works best as part of a comprehensive soil management program that includes regular compost additions, cover cropping, and minimal tillage practices. When you integrate it thoughtfully into this broader approach, biochar can definitely supercharge your raised beds, just not in the immediate, dramatic way that some marketing claims might suggest. Your next step should be experimentation on a small scale. Consider dedicating one raised bed or maybe just a portion of a bed to biochar application, creating a side-by-side comparison with your standard soil management practices. Keep detailed records of plant performance, soil changes, and your own observations over multiple growing seasons. This scientific approach will give you personal data to guide future decisions about expanding biochar use in your garden. The journey toward healthier, more productive raised beds is ongoing, and biochar represents one powerful tool in your arsenal. Like any tool, its effectiveness depends entirely on understanding its proper use and having realistic expectations for results. Ready to unlock the true potential of your raised garden beds with science-based soil building strategies? Subscribe to the Living Soil Lab for more myth-busting guides and proven techniques that work in real gardens. Share this comprehensive biochar guide with fellow gardeners who are ready to invest in long-term soil health and sustainable growing systems. Your future harvests depend on the soil decisions you make today.